Genesis chapter 31. Now it came to the ears of Jacob that Laban's sons were saying, Jacob has taken away all our father's property, and in this way he has got all this wealth. And Jacob saw that Laban's feeling for him was no longer what it had been before. Then the Lord said to Jacob, and to your relations, and I will be with you. And Jacob sent for Rachel and Leah to come to him in the field among his flock. And he said to them, It is clear to me that your father's feeling is no longer what it was to me. But the God of my father has been with me, and 10 times he has made changes in my payment. But God has kept him from doing me damage. If he said, All those in the flock which have marks are to be yours, then all the flock gave birth to marked young. And if he said, All the banded ones are to be yours, then all the flock had banded young. So God has taken away your father's cattle and has given them to me. And at the time when the flock were with young, I saw in a dream that all the he-goats which were joined with the she-goats were banded and marked and colored. And in my dream the angel of the Lord said to me, Jacob, and I said, Here am I. And he said, See how all the he-goats are banded and marked and colored. For I have seen what Laban has done to you. I am the God of Bethel, where you put oil on the pillar and took an oath to me. Now then, come out of this land and go back to the country of your birth. Then Rachel and Leah said to him in answer, What part or heritage is there for us in our father's house? Are we not as people from a strange country to him? For he took a price for us, and now it is all used up. For the wealth which God has taken from him is ours and our children's. So now, whatever God has said to you, do. Then Jacob put his wives and his sons on camels, and sending on before him all his cattle and his property which he had got together in Paddan Aram, he made ready to go to Isaac his father in the land of Canaan. Now Laban had gone to see to the cutting of the wool of his sheep. So Rachel secretly took the images of the gods of her father's house. So he went away with all he had, and went across the river in the direction of the hill country of Gilead. And on the 3rd day Laban had news of Jacob's flight. And taking the men of his family with him, he went after him for 7 days and overtook him in the hill country of Gilead. Then God came to Laban in a dream by night, and said to him, Take care that you say nothing good or bad to Jacob. Now when Laban overtook him, Jacob had put up his tent in the hill country, and Laban and his brothers put up their tents in the hill country of Gilead. And Laban said to Jacob, Why did you go away secretly, taking my daughters away like prisoners of war? Why did you make a secret of your flight, not giving me word of it? so that I might have sent you away with joy and songs, with melody and music. You did not even let me give a kiss to my sons and my daughters. This was a foolish thing to do. It is in my power to do you damage. But the God of your father came to me this night, saying, Take care that you say nothing good or bad to Jacob, and now it seems you are going because your heart's desire is for your father's house. But why have you taken my gods? And Jacob in answer said to Laban, My fear was that you might take your daughters from me by force. As for your gods, if any one of us has them, let him be put to death. Make search before us all for what is yours, and take it. For Jacob had no knowledge that Rachel had taken them. So Laban went into Jacob's tent and into Leah's tent, he into the tents of the two servant women. But they were not there. And he came out of Leah's tent and went into Rachel's. Now Rachel had taken the images and had put them in the camel's basket, and was seated on them, and Laban, searching through all the tent, did not come across them. And she said to her father, Let not my lord be angry because I do not get up before you, for I am in the common condition of women. And with all his searching, he did not come across the images. Then Jacob was angry with Laban and said, What crime or sin have I done that you have come after me with such passion? Now that you have made search through all my goods, what have you seen which is yours? Make it clear now before my people and your people, so that they may be judges between us. These 20 years I have been with you. Your sheep and your goats have had young without loss. Not one of your he-goats have I taken for food. Anything which was wounded by beasts I did not take to you, but myself made up for the loss of it. You made me responsible for whatever was taken by thieves. By day or by night, this was my condition. Wasted by heat in the day and by the bitter cold at night. And sleep went from my eyes. These 20 years I have been in your house. I was your servant for 14 years because of your daughters. And for 6 years I kept your flock. And 10 times was my payment changed. If the God of my father, the God of Abraham and the fear of Isaac, had not been with me, but God has seen my troubles and the work of my hands, and this night he kept you back. Then Laban answering said, These women are my daughters and these children my children. What now may I do for my daughters and for their children? Come, let us make an agreement, you and I, and let it be for a witness between us. Then Jacob took a stone and put it up as a pillar. And Jacob said to his people, Get stones together, and they did so. Get stones together, and they did so. And they had a meal there by the stones. And the name Laban gave it was Jegar-Sahadutha. But Jacob gave it the name of Galeed, and Laban said, These stones are a witness between you and me today. For this reason its name was Galeed. And Mizpah, for he said, May the Lord keep watch on us when we are unable to see one another's doings. If you are cruel to my daughters, or if you take other wives in addition to my daughters, then though no man is there to see, God will be the witness between us. And Laban said, See these stones and this pillar which I have put between you and me. They will be witness that I will not go over these stones to you. And you will not go over these stones or this pillar to me for any evil purpose. May the God of Abraham and the God of Nahor, the God of their father, be our judge. Then Jacob took an oath by the fear of his father Isaac. And Jacob made an offering on the mountain. So they had a meal and took their rest that night on the mountain. And early in the morning Laban, after kissing and blessing his daughters, went on his way back to his country. Genesis chapter 32. And on his way Jacob came face to face with the angels of God. And when he saw them he said, This is the army of God. So he gave that place the name of Mahanaim. Now Jacob sent servants before him to Esau, his brother, in the land of Seir, the country of Edom. And he gave them orders to say these words to Esau. Your servant Jacob says, Till now I have been living with Laban, and I have oxen and asses and flocks and men servants and women servants. And I have sent to give my Lord news of these things so that I may have grace in his eyes. When the servants came back they said, We have seen your brother Esau, and he is coming out to you, and 400 men with him. Then Jacob was in great fear and trouble of mind. And he put all the people and the flocks and the herds and the camels into 2 groups, and said, If Esau, meeting one group, makes an attack on them, the others will get away safely. Then Jacob said, O God of my father Abraham, the God of my father Isaac, the Lord who said to me, Go back to your country and your family, and I will be good to you. I am less than nothing in comparison with all your mercies and your faith to me your servant. For with only my stick in my hand I went across Jordan. And now I have become 2 armies. Be my Savior from the hand of Esau, my brother. For my fear is that he will make an attack on me, putting to death mother and child. And you said, Truly, I will be good to you, and make your seed like the sand of the sea, which may not be numbered. Then he put up his tent there for the night, and from among his goods he took, as an offering for his brother Esau, 200 she-goats and 20 he-goats, 200 females and 20 males from the sheep, 30 camels with their young ones, 40 cows, 10 oxen, 20 asses, and 10 young asses. These he gave to his servants, every herd by itself. And he said to his servants, Go on before me, and let there be a space between one herd and another. And he gave orders to the first, saying, When my brother Esau comes to you and says, Whose servant are you, and where are you going, and whose are these herds? Then say to him, These are your servant Jacob's. They are an offering for my lord, for Esau, and he himself is coming after us. And he gave the same orders to the second and the third and to all those who were with the herds, saying, This is what you are to say to Esau when you see him. And you are to say further, Jacob, your servant, is coming after us. For he said to himself, I will take away his wrath by the offering which I have sent on. And then I will come before him. It may be that I will have grace in his eyes. So the servants with the offerings went on in front. And he himself took his rest that night in the tents with his people. And taking with him his 2 wives and the 2 servant women and his 11 children, he went over the river Jabbok. He took them and sent them over the stream with all he had. Then Jacob was by himself, and a man was fighting with him till dawn. But when the man saw that he was not able to overcome Jacob, he gave him a blow in the hollow part of his leg, so that his leg was damaged. And he said to him, Let me go now, for the dawn is near. But Jacob said, I will not let you go till you have given me your blessing. Then he said, What is your name? And he said, Jacob. And he said, Your name will no longer be Jacob, but Israel. For in your fight with God and with men you have overcome. Then Jacob said, What is your name? And he said, What is my name to you? Then he gave him a blessing. And Jacob gave that place the name of Peniel, saying, I have seen God face to face, and still I am living. And while he was going past Peniel, the sun came up. And he went with unequal steps because of his damaged leg. For this reason the children of Israel, even today, never take that muscle in the hollow of the leg as food, because the hollow of Jacob's leg was touched. Genesis chapter 33. Then Jacob, lifting up his eyes, saw Esau coming with his 400 men. So he made a division of the children between Leah and Rachel and the 2 women servants. He put the servants and their children in front, Leah and her children after them, and Rachel and Joseph at the back. And he himself, going before them, went down on his face to the earth 7 times till he came near his brother. Then Esau came running up to him, and folding him in his arms, gave him a kiss. And the 2 of them were overcome with weeping. Then Esau, lifting up his eyes, saw the women and the children, and said, Who are these with you? And he said, The children whom God in his mercy has given to your servant. Then the servants and their children came near and went down on their faces. And Leah came near with her children, and then Joseph and Rachel, and they did the same. And he said, "What were all those herds which I saw on the way?" And Jacob said, "They were an offering so that I might have grace in my Lord's eyes." But Esau said, "I have enough, keep what is yours, my brother, for yourself." And Jacob said, "Not so, but if I have grace in your eyes, take them as a sign of my love. For I have seen your face as one may see the face of God, and you have been pleased with me. Take my offering then, with my blessing. For God has been very good to me, and I have enough." So at his strong request, he took it, and he said, "Let us go on our journey together, and I will go in front." But Jacob said, "My Lord may see that the children are only small, and there are young ones in my flocks and herds. One day's overdriving will be the destruction of all the flock. Do you, my lord, go on before your servant, I will come on slowly, at the rate at which the cattle and the children are able to go, till I come to my lord at Seir." And Esau said, "Then keep some of my men with you." And he said, "What need is there for that, if my lord is pleased with me?" So Esau, turning back that day, went on his way to Seir. And Jacob went on to Succoth, where he made a house for himself, and put up tents for his cattle. For this reason the place was named Succoth. So Jacob came safely from Paddan Aram to the town of Shechem in the land of Canaan, and put up his tents near the town. And for 100 bits of money he got from the children of Hamor, the builder of Shechem, the field in which he had put up his tents. And there he put up an altar, naming it El, the God of Israel. Genesis chapter 34. Now Dinah, the daughter whom Leah had by Jacob, went out to see the women of that country. And when Shechem, the son of Hamor the Hivite, who was the chief of that land, saw her, he took her by force and had connection with her. Then his heart went out in love to Dinah, the daughter of Jacob, and he said comforting words to her. And Shechem said to Hamor his father, "Get me this girl for my wife." Now Jacob had word of what Shechem had done to his daughter, but his sons were in the fields with the cattle, and Jacob said nothing till they came. Then Hamor, the father of Shechem, came out to have a talk with Jacob. Now the sons of Jacob came in from the fields when they had news of it, and they were wounded and very angry because of the shame he had done in Israel by having connection with Jacob's daughter. And they said, "Such a thing is not to be done." But Hamor said to them, "Shechem, my son, is full of desire for your daughter. Will you then give her to him for a wife? And let our two peoples be joined together. Give your daughters to us, and take our daughters for yourselves." Go on living with us, and the country will be open to you. Do trade and get property there." And Shechem said to her father and her brothers, "If you will give ear to my request, whatever you say I will give to you. However great you make the bride price and payment, I will give it. Only let me have the girl for my wife." But the sons of Jacob gave a false answer to Shechem and Hamor his father, because of what had been done to Dinah their sister. And they said, "It is not possible for us to give our sister to one who is without circumcision, for that would be a cause of shame to us. But on this condition only will we come to an agreement with you. If every male among you becomes like us and undergoes circumcision, then we will give our daughters to you and take your daughters to us and go on living with you as one people. But if you will not undergo circumcision as we say, then we will take our daughter and go." And their words were pleasing to Hamor and his son Shechem. And without loss of time the young man did as they said, because he had delight in Jacob's daughter, and he was the noblest of his father's house. Then Hamor and Shechem his son went to the meeting place of their town, and said to the men of the town, "It is the desire of these men to be at peace with us. Let them then go on living in this country and doing trade here. For the country is wide open before them. Let us take their daughters as wives, and let us give them our daughters. But these men will make an agreement with us to go on living with us and to become one people, only on the condition that every male among us undergoes circumcision, as they have done. Then will not their cattle and their goods and all their beasts be ours. So let us come to an agreement with them so that they may go on living with us." Then all the men of the town gave ear to the words of Hamor and Shechem his son. And every male in the town underwent circumcision. But on the third day after, before the wounds were well, two of the sons of Jacob, Simon and Levi, Dinah's brothers, took their swords and came into the town by surprise and put all the males to death. And Hamor and his son they put to death with the sword. And they took Dinah from Shechem's house and went away. And the sons of Jacob came on them when they were wounded, and made waste the town because of what had been done to their sister. They took their flocks and their herds and their asses and everything in their town and in their fields, and all their wealth and all their little ones and their wives. Everything in their houses they took and made them waste. And Jacob said to Simon and Levi, "You have made trouble for me and given me a bad name among the people of this country, among the Canaanites and the Perizzites. And because we are small in number, they will come together against me and make war on me, and it will be the end of me and all my people." But they said, "Were we to let him make use of our sister as a loose woman?" Genesis chapter 35. And God said to Jacob, "Go up now to Bethel and make your living place there. and put up an altar there to the God who came to you when you were in flight from your brother Esau." Then Jacob said to all his people, "Put away the strange gods which are among you, and make yourselves clean, and put on a change of clothing. And let us go up to Bethel, and there I will make an altar to God, who gave me an answer in the day of my trouble, and was with me wherever I went." Then they gave to Jacob all the strange gods which they had, and the rings which were in their ears. And Jacob put them away under the holy tree at Shechem. So they went on their journey, and the fear of God was on the towns round about, so that they made no attack on the sons of Jacob. And Jacob came to Luz in the land of Canaan, he and all his people. And there he made an altar, naming the place El Bethel, because it was there he had the vision of God when he was in flight from his brother. And Deborah, the servant who had taken care of Rebekah from her birth, came to her end, and was put to rest near Bethel, under the holy tree, and they gave it the name of Alon-Bakath. Now when Jacob was on his way from Paddan Aram, God came to him again, and, blessing him, said, "Jacob is your name, but it will be so no longer. From now your name will be Israel." So he was named Israel. And God said to him, "I am God, the ruler of all. Be fertile and have increase. A nation, truly a group of nations, will come from you, and kings will be your offspring. And the land which I gave to Abraham and Isaac I will give to you, and to your seed after you I will give the land." Then God went up from him in the place where he had been talking with him. And Jacob put up a pillar in the place where he had been talking with God, and put a drink offering on it, and oil. And he gave to the place where God had been talking with him the name of Bethel. So they went on from Bethel, and while they were still some distance from Ephrath, the pains of birth came on Rachel, and she had a hard time. And when her pain was very great, the woman who was helping her said, "Have no fear, for now you will have another son." And in the hour when her life went from her, she gave the child the name Ben-Oni. But his father gave him the name of Benjamin. So Rachel came to her end and was put to rest on the road to Ephrath. And Jacob put up a pillar on her resting place, which is named the pillar of the resting place of Rachel to this day. And Israel went journeying on and put up his tents on the other side of the tower of the flock. Now while they were living in that country, Reuben had connection with Bilhah, his father's servant woman, and Israel had news of it. Now Jacob had 12 sons. The sons of Reuben, Jacob's first son, and Simon, and Levi, and Judah, and Issachar, and Zebulun. The sons of Rachel, Joseph, and Benjamin. The sons of Bilhah, Rachel's servant, Dan, and Naphtali. The sons of Zilpah, Leah's servant, Gad and Asher. And Jacob came to his father Isaac at Mamre, at Kiriath Arba, that is, Hebron, where Abraham and Isaac had been living. And Isaac was 180 years old. Then Isaac came to his end and was put to rest with his father's people, an old man after a long life, and Jacob and Esau, his sons, put him in his last resting place. Genesis chapter 36. Now these are the generations of Esau, that is to say, Edom. Esau's wives were women of Canaan, Adah, the daughter of Elon the Hittite, and Oholibamah, the daughter of Anath, the daughter of Zibon the Hivite, and Basemath, Ishmael's daughter, the sister of Nebaioth. Adah had a son Eliphaz, and Basemath was the mother of Reuel. Oholibamah was the mother of Jeush, Jalam, and Korah. These are the sons of Esau, whose birth took place in the land of Canaan. Esau took his wives and his sons and his daughters, and all the people of his house, and his beasts and his cattle and all his goods which he had got together in the land of Canaan, and went into the land of Seir, away from his brother Jacob. For their wealth was so great that the land was not wide enough for the two of them, and all their cattle. So Esau made his living place in the hill country of Seir. And these are the generations of Esau, the father of the Edomites in the hill country of Seir. These are the names of Esau's sons: Eliphaz, the son of Esau's wife Adah, and Reuel, the son of Esau's wife Basemath. The sons of Eliphaz were Teman, Omar, Zepho, Gatam, and Kenaz. And Eliphaz, the son of Esau, had connection with a woman named Timnah, who gave birth to Amalek. All these were the children of Esau's wife Adah. And these are the sons of Reuel: Nahath, Zerah, Shammah, and Mizith. They were the children of Esau's wife Basemath. And these are the sons of Esau's wife Oholibamah, the daughter of Anna, the daughter of Zibon. She was the mother of Jeush, Jalam, and Korah. These were the chiefs among the sons of Esau. The sons of Eliphaz, Esau's first son: Teman, Omar, Zepho, Kenaz. Korah, Gatam, Amalek. All these were chiefs in the land of Edom. The offspring of Eliphaz, the seed of Adah. And these are the sons of Esau's son Reuel: Nahath, Zerah, Shammah, Mizith. These were the chiefs of Reuel in the land of Edom. The children of Esau's wife Basemath. And these are the sons of Esau's wife Oholibamah: Jeush, Jalam, and Korah. These were the chiefs who came from Esau's wife Oholibamah, daughter of Anna. These were the sons of Esau, and these were their chiefs. These are the sons of Seir the Horite who were living in that country: Lotan, Shobal, Zibon, Anna. Dishon, Ezer, and Dishan. These are the chiefs of the Horites. The children of Laban were Hori and Hamam. Laban's sister was Timnah. And these are the children of Shobal, Alvan, Manahath, Ebal, Shepho, and Onom. And these are the children of Zibon, Aiah, and Anna. That same Anna who made the discovery of the water springs in the waste land, when he was looking after the asses of his father Zibon. And these are the children of Anna, Dishon, and Oholibamah his daughter. These are the children of Dishon, Hemdan, Eshban, Ithran, and Karen. These are the children of Ezer, Bilhan, Zavan, and Akan. These are the children of Dishan, Uz, and Aaron. These were the Horite chiefs, Laban, Shobal, Zibon, Anna, Dishon, Ezer, and Dishan. Such were the Horite chiefs in their order in the land of Seir. And these are the kings who were ruling in the land of Edom before there was any king over the children of Israel. Bela, son of Beer, was king in Edom, and the name of his chief town was Dinhabah. At his death, Jobab, son of Zerah of Bozrah, became king in his place. And at the death of Jobab, Husham, from the country of the Temanites, became king in his place. And at the death of Husham, Hadad, son of Bedad, who overcame the Midianites in the field of Moab, became king. His chief town was named Avith. And at the death of Hadad, Samlah of Masrekah became king. And at the death of Samlah, Shaul of Rehoboth by the river became king in his place. And at the death of Shaul, Baal-Hanan, son of Ichbor, became king. And at the death of Baal-Hanan, Hadar became king in his place. His chief town was named Pau, and his wife's name was Mehetabel. She was the daughter of Matred, the daughter of Mezahab. These are the names of the chiefs of Esau in the order of their families and their places: Timnah, Alva, Jetheth, Oholibamah, Elah, Pinon, Kenaz, Teman, Mibzar, Magdiel, Aram. These are the Edomite chiefs in their places and their heritage. This is Esau, the father of the Edomites. Genesis C. Chapter 37. Now Jacob was living in the land where his father had made a place for himself, in the land of Canaan. These are the generations of Jacob, Joseph, a boy 17 years old, was looking after the flock, together with his brothers, the sons of Bilhah and Zilpah, his father's wives, and Joseph gave their father a bad account of them. Now the love which Israel had for Joseph was greater than his love for all his other children, and he had a long coat made for him. And because his brothers saw that Joseph was dearer to his father than all the others, they were full of hate for him, and would not say a kind word to him. Now Joseph had a dream, and he gave his brothers an account of it, which made their hate greater than ever. And he said to them, "Let me give you the story of my dream." We were in the field, getting the grain stems together, and my grain kept upright. Yours came round and went down on the earth before mine. And his brothers said to him, Are you to be our king? Will you have authority over us? And because of his dream and his words, their hate for him became greater than ever. Then he had another dream, and gave his brothers an account of it, saying, I have had another dream. The sun and the moon and 11 stars gave honor to me. And he gave word of it to his father and his brothers. But his father, protesting, said, What sort of a dream is this? Am I and your mother and your brothers to go down on our faces to the earth before you? And his brothers were full of envy. But his father kept his words in mind. Now his brothers went to keep watch over their father's flock in Shechem. And Israel said to Joseph, Are not your brothers with the flock in Shechem? Come, I will send you to them. And he said to him, Here am I. And he said to him, Go now, and see if your brothers are well, and how the flock is. Then come back and give me word. So he sent him out of the valley of Hebron. And he came to Shechem. And a man saw him wandering in the country, and said to him, What are you looking for? And he said, I am looking for my brothers. Please give me word of where they are keeping their flock. And the man said, They have gone away from here. For they said in my hearing, Let us go to Dothan. So Joseph went after them and came up with them at Dothan. But they saw him when he was a long way off. And before he came near them, they made a secret design against him to put him to death, saying to one another, See, here comes this dreamer. Let us now put him to death and put his body into one of these holes. And we will say, An evil beast has put him to death. Then we will see what becomes of his dreams. But Reuben, hearing these words, got him out of their hands, saying, Let us not take his life. Do not put him to a violent death, but let him be placed in one of the holes. This he said to keep him safe from their hands, with the purpose of taking him back to his father again. So when Joseph came to his brothers, they took off his long coat which he had on, and they took him and put him in the hole. Now the hole had no water in it. Then seating themselves, they took their meal. And looking up, they saw a traveling band of Ishmaelites coming from Gilead on their way to Egypt, with spices and perfumes on their camels. And Judah said to his brothers, What profit is there in putting our brother to death and covering up his blood? Let us give him to these Ishmaelites for a price, and let us not put violent hands on him. For he is our brother, our flesh. And his brothers gave ear to him. And some traders from Midian went by. So pulling Joseph up out of the hole, they gave him to the Ishmaelites for 20 bits of silver, and they took him to Egypt. Now when Reuben came back to the hole, Joseph was not there and giving signs of grief. He went back to his brothers and said, "The child is gone. What am I to do?" Then they took Joseph's coat and put on it some of the blood from a young goat, which they had put to death. And they took the coat to their father and said, "We came across this. Is it your son's coat or not?" And he saw that it was and said, "It is my son's coat. An evil beast has put him to death. Without doubt Joseph has come to a cruel end." Then Jacob, giving signs of grief, put on haircloth and went on weeping for his son day after day. And all his sons and all his daughters came to give him comfort. But he would not be comforted, saying with weeping, "I will go down to the underworld to my son." So great was his father's sorrow for him. And in Egypt the men of Midian gave him for a price to Potiphar. Genesis chapter 38. Now at that time Judah went away from his brothers and became the friend of a man of Adullam named Hurrah. And there he saw the daughter of a certain man of Canaan named Shua, and took her as his wife. And she gave birth to a son, and he gave him the name And again she gave birth to a son, and he gave him the name Onan. Then she had another son, to whom she gave the name Shelah. She was at Shechem when the birth took place. And Judah took a wife for his first son and her name was Tamar. Now Judah's first son, did evil in the eyes of the Lord, so that he put him to death. Then Judah said to Onan, "Go into your brother's wife, and do what it is right for a husband's brother to do. Make her your wife, and get offspring for your brother." But Onan, seeing that the offspring would not be his, went into his brother's wife, but let his seed go on to the earth, so that he might not get offspring for his brother. And what he did was evil in the eyes of the Lord, so that he put him to death like his brother. Then Judah said to Tamar, his daughter-in-law, "Go back to your father's house and keep yourself as a widow till my son Shelah becomes a man." For he had in his mind the thought that death might come to him, as it had come to his brothers. So Tamar went back to her father's house. And after a time Bathsheba, Judah's wife, came to her end. And after Judah was comforted for her loss, he went to Timnah, where they were cutting the wool of his sheep. And his friend Hurrah of Adullam went with him. And when Tamar had news that her father-in-law was going up to Timnah to the wool cutting, she took off her widow's clothing, and covering herself with her veil, she took her seat near Enaim on the road to Timnah. For she saw that Shelah was now a man, but she had not been made his wife. When Judah saw her, he took her to be a loose woman of the town, because her face was covered. And turning to her by the roadside, he said to her, "Let me come into you." For he had no idea that she was his daughter-in-law. And she said, "What will you give me as my price?" And he said, "I will give you a young goat from the flock." And she said, "What will you give me as a sign till you send it?" And he said, "What would you have?" And she said, "Your ring and its cord and the stick in your hand." So he gave them to her and went into her, and she became with child by him. Then she got up and went away and took off her veil and put on her widow's clothing. Then Judah sent his friend Hurrah with the young goat to get back the things which he had given as a sign to the woman, but she was not there. And he put questions to the men of the place, saying, "Where is the loose woman who was in Enaim by the wayside?" And they said, "There was no such woman there." So he went back to Judah and said, "I have not seen her." And the men of the place say that there is no such woman there. And Judah said, "Let her keep the things, so that we may not be shamed. I sent the young goat, but you did not see the woman." Now about 3 months after this, word came to Judah that Tamar, his daughter-in-law, had been acting like a loose woman and was with child. And Judah said, "Take her out and let her be burned." And while she was being taken out, she sent word to her father-in-law, saying, "The man whose property these things are is the father of my child. Say then, whose are this ring and this cord and this stick?" Then Judah said openly that they were his, and said, "She is more upright than I am, for I did not give her to Shelah my son." And he had no more connection with her. And when the time came for her to give birth, it was clear that there were 2 children in her body. And while she was in the act of giving birth, one of them put out his hand, and the woman who was with her put a red thread round his hand, saying, "This one came out first." But then he took his hand back again, and his brother came first to birth, and the woman said, "What an opening you have made for yourself." So he was named Perez. And then his brother came out with the red thread round his hand, and he was named Zerah. Genesis chapter 39. Now Joseph was taken down to Egypt, and Potiphar the Egyptian, a captain of high position in Pharaoh's house, got him for a price from the Ishmaelites who had taken him there. And the Lord was with Joseph, and he did well. And he was living in the house of his master the Egyptian. And his master saw that the Lord was with him, making everything he did go well. And having a high opinion of Joseph as his servant, he made him the overseer of his house and gave him control over all he had. And from the time when he made him overseer and gave him control of all his property, the blessing of the Lord was with the Egyptian. Because of Joseph, the blessing of the Lord was on all he had, in the house and in the field. And he gave Joseph control of all his property, keeping no account of anything, but only the food which was put before him. Now Joseph was very beautiful in form and face. And after a time, his master's wife, looking on Joseph with desire, said to him, "Be my lover." But he would not, and said to her, "You see that my master keeps no account of what I do in his house, and has put all his property in my control, so that no one has more authority in this house than I have. He has kept nothing back from me but you. Because you are his wife, how then may I do this great wrong, sinning against God?" And day after day she went on requesting Joseph to come to her and be her lover. But he would not give ear to her. Now one day he went into the house to do his work, and not one of the men of the house was inside. And pulling at his coat, she said, "Come to my bed," but slipping out of his coat, he went running away. And when she saw that he had got away, letting her keep his coat, she sent for the men of her house and said to them, "See, he has let a Hebrew come here and make sport of us. He came to my bed, and I gave a loud cry. And hearing it, he went running out without his coat. And she kept his coat by her till his master came back. Then she gave him the same story, saying, 'The Hebrew servant whom you have taken into our house came in to make sport of me. And when I gave a loud cry, he went running out without his coat.' And hearing his wife's account of what his servant had done, he became very angry. And Joseph's master took him and put him in prison, in the place where the king's prisoners were kept in chains. And he was there in the prison house. But the Lord was with Joseph, and was good to him, and made the keeper of the prison his friend. And the keeper of the prison put all the prisoners under Joseph's control, and he was responsible for whatever was done there. And the keeper of the prison gave no attention to anything which was under his care, because the Lord was with him. And the Lord made everything he did go well. Chapter 40. Sometime after this, the cupbearer of the king of Egypt and his baker offended their lord the king of Egypt. Pharaoh was angry with his two officers, the chief cupbearer and the chief baker, and he put them in custody in the house of the captain of the guard, in the prison where Joseph was confined. The captain of the guard charged Joseph with them, and he waited on them, and they continued for some time in custody. One night they both dreamed, the cupbearer and the baker of the king of Egypt, who were confined in the prison, each his own dream, and each dream with its own meaning. When Joseph came to them in the morning, he saw that they were troubled. So he asked Pharaoh's officers, who were with him in custody in his master's house, "Why are your faces downcast today?" They said to him, "We have had dreams, and there is no one to interpret them." And Joseph said to them, "Do not interpretations belong to God? Please tell them to me." So the chief cupbearer told his dream to Joseph, and said to him, "In my dream there was a vine before me, and on the vine there were 3 branches. As soon as it budded, its blossoms came out, and the clusters ripened into grapes. Pharaoh's cup was in my hand, and I took the grapes and pressed them into Pharaoh's cup, and placed the cup in Pharaoh's hand." Then Joseph said to him, "This is its interpretation. The 3 branches are 3 days. Within 3 days Pharaoh will lift up your head and restore you to your office, and you shall place Pharaoh's cup in his hand, just as you used to do when you were his cupbearer. But remember me when it is well with you. Please do me the kindness to make mention of me to Pharaoh, and so get me out of this place. For in fact I was stolen out of the land of the Hebrews, and here also I have done nothing that they should have put me into the dungeon." When the chief baker saw that the interpretation was favorable, he said to Joseph, "I also had a dream. There were 3 cake baskets on my head, and in the uppermost basket there were all sorts of baked food for Pharaoh. But the birds were eating it out of the basket on my head." And Joseph answered, "This is its interpretation. The 3 baskets are 3 days. Within 3 days Pharaoh will lift up your head from you and hang you on a pole, and the birds will eat the flesh from you." On the 3rd day, which was Pharaoh's birthday, he made a feast for all his servants, and lifted up the head of the chief cupbearer and the head of the chief baker among his servants. He restored the